Oh, yeah. Yeah, that didn't.
Good afternoon, everyone. We're about to start the Tuesday, May 28th meeting of the Comox Valley Sewage Commission. And I'd like to welcome everyone today. I'd like to acknowledge that we're meeting on the unceded territory of the Comox First Nation, the traditional keepers of this land. I'd like to welcome directors and commissioners and staff who are here in the room today. And that would include Director Hardy, who from Area B, who has a voice but not vote at this table. So we'll start our meeting today with the first item of business, the resolution status report from May 2024. A motion for receipt, please. Moved by McCollum, seconded by Grant. Is there any discussion? All right, all those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. And we'll move into reports. And this is our prime item of business today, the Sewer System Conveyance Project Traffic Management Plan. We have a report dated May 22nd, and I'll take a motion for receipt, please.
Second.
Moved by McCollum, seconded by Grant, and we're going to turn it over to staff for the presentation. And Mr. Warren.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Please introduce Charlie Gore, our Senior Manager of Capital Projects Delivery, and the presentation of this draft traffic management plan is a significant milestone in the work of the conveyance project. So Charlie, you're going to take us away, I think, on the presentation of this draft TMP.
Are you ready to roll, Charlie, or do you need a moment? Yeah. If you want to press your button there.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, CAO. Yep, I am ready to roll. I'm just sharing my screen and pressing the necessary buttons. All right. So the presentation today, there's not a huge amount of new information to the Commission. I think we've gone through many steps and many updates on this, but this is what we're looking for today is your approval to take this detailed plan out to the public to engage on it. And I do recognize that back road, for example, is a very hot button issue in the community politically. And so we have put a huge amount of effort into detailing out the plans, showing where all the signage and detours and everything will go. But I hope none of this information is new to you and that we can discuss any of the details, but the hope at the end of this is an approval to take this draft plan out and engage with the public on it. Just want to start off. So what to recognize we're on the unceded territory of the Comox First Nation. What I've done here is I've used a lot of the slides that we are planning to use for the presentation to the public in the open house, so you can see some of that content in advance. Don't need to rehash the conveyance route with all of you. So the construction schedule in 2024, sorry, one moment. I don't think I'm presenting the right presentation. Apologies.
And just while you're checking that, Charlie, I'll acknowledge that the most updated plan was presented to Comox First Nation leadership fairly recently as part of the work that you've been doing.
It was, thank you. So the traffic plan goals, which were approved by the Commission back in March, were primarily to keep people safe on all the alternate routes throughout the valley and to maintain the flows through those detour routes. They're the two primary objectives and goals of the system, with the other goals of keeping the connectivity between the different areas of the Comox First Nation and keeping proactive with adjustments of those anticipated changes. We also had some priorities which came from the Comox First Nation Chief and Council, which were to proactively address the safety on back road, to ensure access for health services for those that are living on Bayside Road in IR1, create safe access from Bayside Road out onto Comox Road, and to guarantee two-way access for cyclists and pedestrians to the band office there. Now, majority of those Comox First Nation priorities are actually part of the contractor traffic management plans, rather than the overarching traffic management plan that we're presenting today, which we're calling the CVRD traffic management plan, because it's for the rest of the valley. The contractors in their prime contractor zones will be managing their own traffic management plans. And what we're focusing today on is that greater holistic perspective. So again, I thought I was presenting this. I apologize. Okay. So again, this map is not new, I hope, to all. The unidirectional westbound flow on Comox Avenue and Comox Road, and the official detour route going back eastwards from Courtenay to Comox along Ryan and Lowick and Guthrie, and the preventing of the overuse of back road as a detour route. You can see here, this is one of the first new detailed maps that is part of the traffic management plan. This is all the traffic lights and signage that we plan on optimizing to really focus on getting people on those detour routes and to keep them flowing. So in red, you can see the high priority traffic lights, which we're going to do some significant changes to the timing, and the orange as a secondary moderate with more minor changes to them, to keep that eastbound flow along those roads. I'll remind the commission that the all right-hand turns along that detour route will really assist with keeping it moving. So I know that there are concerns already about the way traffic flows on Ryan Road in peak hour, but the routing of the detour is all right-hand turns, and so they don't actually have to stop at any of those traffic lights. One of the more significant changes that we are going to make is that we're going to be blocking the straight through traffic going from west to east on Comox Road at the 17th Street Bridge. So that's probably the least major traffic flow there. But if you can imagine you lived in IR1 and you are coming from Superstore, you would go straight through that traffic light. That will be blocked to allow the westbound flow from Comox Road to get into Courtenay and the eastbound flow to get from 17th Street Bridge over to Ryan. We don't have the capacity there to keep all three of those routes open. And so, for example, if you were going from Superstore back to IR1 on Dyke Road, you would have to go through Cliff Ave across the 5th Street Bridge and then back over the 17th. So that is going to be an inconvenience that folks along the Dyke Road corridor have to experience to keep that traffic flowing through that intersection.
Can you maybe just repeat that? Because I think I was of the understanding that you wouldn't actually be able to go to IR1 from the 17th Street Bridge. So would you not have to go through Comox to get there?
Yeah, maybe I can come back to this. I do have some slides further along in the presentation to talk about the more detailed iterations of the traffic along Dyke Road throughout the project. So I'll come back to this point.
Okay, I do see though that Director McCollum has a question, and we'll take that if you're okay with that, Charlie.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thanks. I wasn't sure if we could jump in with questions, but I think it's maybe easier as we go through the different parts to ask as you give us the info. One question I had is the layout of where adjustments need to be made to signalization makes good sense in reading the report, but is there analysis being done for the intersections near the detour route that will also be impacted by the change in traffic flows? The one that first comes to mind would be on the other side of 17th Street Bridge, that we're now having traffic basically queuing from two directions. yeah, I'm curious as to whether or not there's been analysis of how likely it is that we'll see traffic queuing up on the bridge and basically slowing that flow if traffic's stuck there, and whether or not there's adjustments that can be made to the other side of 17th as well to address that potential problem.
Yeah. So when they do the analysis, they do a system-wide model, and they use the traffic data that comes in through programs such as Google Maps and things to relatively accurately these days have a traffic count of where traffic is moving through the entire model. And then we start to make those changes and we see where the problems come out. So they have analyzed all of those adjacent intersections as well. And you can see the traffic light on the south side of 17th Street Bridge there is highlighted as moderate. There'll be some minor changes to the 17th and Cliff intersection traffic light there to keep that one flowing as well. I do know what you're referring to. That definitely does back up 17th. And there is going to be more backups on all these routes. We have acknowledged that from the start with the traffic management strategy, is that we think that we can modify the total time taken to go from Courtney back to Comox in the realm of 5 minutes additional, but it's not going to be that we're going to be able to keep it at status quo. But we don't think that there are going to be significant backups as a result of the changes that we're implementing.
Okay, that's good to know. And so there may be some adjustments to the timing of that intersection, then is what you're saying. Okay, I didn't see that in the report. Thanks.
And Director Cole Hamilton.
Thanks, Chair. Then thanks for this, Charlie. I just have 2 questions. One, kind of a general question. If people are asking us what sort of modification to the timing of traffic lights, how's the operation going to change for the ones that are to be modified? And the other was the intersection of Anderson and Comox Ave. It looks like it's prioritizing a left turn there. Is that meant to be a right to sort of complete the circuit?
Yeah, so in the report itself, it goes through all of the ways we're going to modify each traffic light.
Okay,
so you can find that in the details of the traffic management plan itself.
Okay.
Now, the concept of the detour is the majority of folks are trying to route them when they cannot turn right on 17th Street Bridge to go eastwards on Comox Road. So we're assuming that those people are trying to get to downtown Comox, and so that detour signage is taking them all the way up Ryan, Lowick, Guthrie, down Anderson, and left to get them to downtown Comox. But the details in the traffic management plan itself goes into how that specific traffic light will prioritize and includes a verbiage about.
Okay, I'll go back and review that. I don't want to take up your time. Thanks, Charlie.
No problem.
And Director Grant.
Yeah, just wondering, how long is this traffic configuration going to be in play for?
So we're expecting it to be for the first 9 months of 2025. So I will get onto some more details later on in the presentation. It's not, there's some iterations that will happen within that. And there's also some fluidity to those timelines as we get closer and closer to that date. Is it going to start in January? Is it going to start in February? Is it going to run all the way through to October? As you know, we're right on schedule right now with our force main installation through the town, which is fantastic. And so things are looking really good there. But for example, I was out on site yesterday with the contractor who's going to be building along Dyke Road. And he was saying they're a little concerned about the high tides in January, February. So they're thinking about doing some little rejigging, maybe doing the farmers' fields before Dyke Road. So there's going to be refinements as we move towards to the implementation of this and refinement of that schedule through the summer, so that by the time we come out to the fall, we'll have really firm dates to provide to the public. But at this stage, we are saying the January to the fall of 2025.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay, we'll take one more question, and then I think I'll encourage directors to keep their powder dry just so you can get into the flow. It sounds like you might cover a lot of the things that we're going to ask about as you move along, but we'll have Director Swift for now.
Thank you, Charlie. I was just wondering if there was going to be bicycle traffic two ways beyond the KFN building, like back into Comox.
Definitely.
Okay,
Definitely.
thank you.
And sorry, I should have highlighted that, but that will be coming up again. So I did mention earlier, but protecting back road is a really key part of this traffic management plan. And you could have seen some here on the larger diagram of the detour route that we're going to be telling people that it's local traffic only coming off Ryan onto back road, and that is not, trucks are not allowed to come through there. And then once folks come through to the McDonald Road intersection, it's going to be a lot more signage. And that's really important because the road will be closed at Glacier View and Comox Avenue for the majority of this period because of the building of the roundabout at the top there. And so anyone that's coming through past McDonald Road needs to be either a resident of IR1 or of these very small side streets of the town of Comox coming up Glacier View Drive, like Strathcona Crescent or Corker Avenue. And we are concerned about folks thinking it's a good detour to beeline through IR1 and get to other areas of Comox through these small side streets of the town of Comox. That's not safe to have significant traffic coming through those small roads. And so you'll see here that we are planning to put some significant signage that you can see in this diagram. We're also going to be putting up a speed reader to monitor and to indicate to people that are coming through there at pace. And then there are additional measures that have been contemplated previously that are in the plan, that if people are shortcutting through back road and not obeying the signage, that we do have some additional measures that we can implement if necessary. And two of those are, one is to close back road at Morrison, which would create the only use of back road would be those that live there. Otherwise, you'd be turning around at Morrison and having to come back. And another concept is to close Strathcona Crescent and Corker Avenue, which would turn the segment of back road past McDonald Road as a no through road. So you would have no other exit than to come back to McDonald Road. Both of these have significant negative impacts that go against the first two goals of the strategy. And so we would not impose these lightly, especially the closure at McDonald Road would push a lot more traffic that do use back road responsibly out onto Ryan and Lerwick, and that may back up those major thoroughfares more. And that's not in anyone's interest. So we are doing a really great job through our staff of recording a lot of traffic data right now. We're going to have a really good baseline of 2024 traffic flows in many areas along back road that we will be able to refer to as we continue to monitor into 2025. And we would only implement these measures if we're seeing significantly worse conditions along back road. And we'd be working with the commission before any of those would be implemented. So you asked a question, Chair, about it doesn't make any sense that anyone would be going eastwards from 17th Street Bridge. And so I created some graphics here to try to talk about the nuances as we go through 2025. Now, for the greater public, it's going to be a westbound only. But for those that live in the corridor, it's very important to understand that we're only going to be blocking traffic in our specific areas of construction. So this first graphic you can see is what we're expecting for January, February. So we are going to be building from the Courtney Pump Station along the dike towards the farmlands over Glen Urquhart Creek. And we're also going to be building up on Comox Avenue up around Rodello near the new aged care facility. But for those that live in the middle of the corridor, if you're living on the farmlands or in IR1, you'll be able to go back and forth and you'll be able to come back into Comox briefly. But then as we move forward, there's the contractor who's building in the town of Comox will be moving further along, setting up the Glacier View roundabout construction and building the pipe down Comox Hill. And we create a situation where you'll still be able to drive back and forth. Oh, and in addition, we will start the archaeological work down in IR1 to start doing the pre-excavations to ensure that we're not hitting any sensitive archaeological materials as we're building pipe. And we get a more constrictive traffic arrangement. Again, still majority westbound flow is not a problem. But if you lived on Farmview Road and you wanted to get to Scott Road, for example, you could still go back and forth east and west. And if you wanted to go from Bayside Road to the KFN head office, you still could. And so this is a more difficult thing to communicate out to the public, and is more relevant to those that live in the corridor. But it's very important. And we've discussed previously with the town of Comox that this next iteration is also very important, that while we're building the roundabout at Glacier View Drive, and we're also building through IR1, that the folks who live in the developments on the far western edge of the town of Comox, and those that live on Bayside Road, that we've worked hard with the contractor to allow them to come eastwards into Comox, so that they're not disadvantaged for that full 9 months of construction. So I included these three examples to try to show that how hard we're working to make sure that those that live in the corridor that we're turning one way have the ability to move back and forth as much as possible. And this last example here is that situation where people will be able to come eastwards from the 17th Street Bridge, you know, all the way to the farmlands, for example. And so that's going to be, we're still fine tuning how that's going to be presented in the open houses to make sure it's really clear, because, you know, there's going to be different combinations and permutations of those contractor zones. But I think it's a really important message that we're not just blanket closing the eastbound lanes of that entire corridor for the full 9 months. So that's the end of my presentation. I hope that answers some of the questions. You can see there, Director Swift, that the two-way access for cyclists is going to be up front and center in our messaging. And I think in some of my words, I'm going to, you know, do a pitch for the new bike program that everyone's been working really hard to implement. That's going to be a fantastic way to come from Courtenay eastwards into Comox and such. But we're still fine tuning, and we're hoping to take, with your approval, to take this messaging out to 2 open houses on June 18 and June 19, as per the plan, to really engage with the public, hear about concerns. And if we get that approval today, we will be sending the detailed traffic management plan to all the stakeholders in the traffic strategy group that was created when we embarked on this a couple of years ago, to make sure that, you know, the school districts and the business associations and everyone has heads up in advance of these open houses and has the opportunity to reach out to us directly to meet with us if they have any concerns with the detailed plans. That's it for me. Happy to answer any other questions.
Thanks very much, Charlie. Questions or comments from directors? Director Kerr.
Thanks, Charlie. Awesome to hear all the work that's been going into this planning. 2 hopefully easy questions. One, how will local residents be able to get past some of these areas of restriction? Like, will they have a pass or something that they put in their car that allows them to get past the local residents only area? And what if you're visiting your mom or friend or something on that area? Can you get past as well? So that's question 1. And question 2 is on the Courtenay side of Back Road, Tunner Drive, 6th Street, and of course on Ryan Road. And I couldn't tell from the sign, are we going to have some local residents only signage there? I think that would be a big deterrent, really preventing people from turning right or left and going that way. That's going to be a key blockage. Yeah, it says detour, but a local traffic only kind of sign. I don't know if that's helpful. Thanks.
Yeah, my memory's terrible. I have a newborn at home, so I'm going to go answer the second one first. I'm going to repeat the first one. So with the local traffic only signs, there is one planned. It's maybe hard to see in this at Back Road off Ryan there. They are there's been a lot of discussion about trying to use any sort of enforceable permit pass and things, and they're not very effective when they are used. You need a huge amount of enforcement. And then there's all the examples that you note. You're visiting your mother, you're visiting a friend. And so what we're aiming to do first and foremost is to keep the official detour route really flowing well. That in itself will discourage the use of back road as a detour. And then secondly, we are going to have lots of great signage. And then for the first period of the project, we're reviewing the need for some traffic control personnel at some of the key intersections like McDonald and back, because when you start seeing road closed ahead signs, if you haven't been able to keep up to date with the communications, you may think I'm being blocked from my own house. And so to help people understand and to have some official looking people there for people to think, oh, they really are serious about me not going through these areas, is our intent. But there'll be no sort of permit system or anything contemplated at this stage. Did that answer both your questions? Okay, great.
All right. Doesn't look like there's any further questions. I do have one. Charlie, I'm wondering to what extent our contractors are attuned to the needs and circumstances of the Comox Nation, whether they will have the same awareness as regional district staff in relation to their interaction with Comox Nation residents and as issues come up through the project.
Yeah, I think really, really good. So Nappet Industries are the contractor who will be building the force main through IR1. And they're a fantastic contractor that we've been working with on many projects for several years. And they're building major industrial projects in Nanaimo all through the island. And I think they do have a great understanding. They live locally. They are local to our area. I think they have a really good grasp of the importance of that relationship. And we do also have some really stringent language in the contract that we have with them about the bypassing and the traffic control and the mandated need for access and respect through that area. So there's a lot in there about archaeological work. So I think that the significance is very well portrayed to them, and I think that they acknowledge that their success there is our success, and so I think everyone is on board for the difficulties, but also what success looks like for building through that.
That's good to know. And my other question, could you clarify what the plan is for public engagement to spread the word about this traffic management plan?
Yes, so the engagement planned for June. We're also hoping to do some community sessions with Comox First Nation residents through the summer. We'll be compiling that feedback and bringing that back to the commission for approval on a final plan in September. And then we have October and November to really hit the streets, and we're going to hit the streets very loud. We're going to be all over the paper, the radio, every way we can get the word out to the public about this in advance of the Christmas silly season, so that as we expect now in January, when we start installing these signs and closing roads, that as many people as possible know in advance that this is all happening, and those that don't have a lot of ways to get informed about it.
Thanks for that. Are there any further Director Hardy, if you'd like to come up to a microphone, please do.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Just wondering if there's going to be any monitoring at Guthrie and Pritchard and Comox. I know sometimes during people heading home between 4 and 6 p.m. Pritchard and Guthrie gets pretty busy there up by Hunting School. So I'm just wondering if there's going to be any monitoring there with regards to making sure there's a good flow of traffic based upon a majority of the traffic from Courtney to Comox is going to end up at Pritchard and Guthrie there. So I know during the air show, they did have somebody there at that corner at the four-way stop there directing traffic and having that continuous flow, and that seemed to really address that issue with regards to the pinch point there. So just thought I'd flag that. Thanks.
Yeah, I'm not a resident of Comox, so I'm just gonna make sure I understand. So Guthrie and Pritchard is up in this far top corner here somewhere?
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, by Highland School. So, there are no plan.
And I'll just note for people online that Director Hardy's provided some further comments about the busyness of the intersection of Guthrie and Pritchard, which is near Highland School.
Yeah, I think from the way that we've set up the detour routing, once you reach the intersection of Guthrie and Anderson, you've got you're able to distribute as you were before back into Comox. So I suppose the concept of the strategy is that we will likely not be impacting that intersection of Guthrie and Pritchard very much, because if that is starting to get busy, people will flow down Anderton as they're directed by the detour and flow on to Knoll, to Rob, to back onto Comox Ave, where we don't have any impacts. And so, yes, there's going to be a million different ways that people react to this traffic plan. You know, there'll be a lot of people that just avoid it altogether and go up and around the long way around Anderson and headquarters and such. But I think you can go a million iterations out, and I think we've focused on those that are seen by the modeling to be affected by the changes we're making. And as you say, if we're finding problems elsewhere, we're going to need to react to that. But setting up specific monitoring at other intersections that aren't shown by the modeling is not in the plans just yet.
Yeah, and that of course brings to mind the challenge that may occur for people coming out of Isfeld School turning left onto Lerwick if there's a more continuous stream there. Director Grant.
Yeah, Richard actually brings up a pretty good point there. That intersection has been a conundrum for us for as long as I've been around. And it's the kids getting out of school and they come down to that intersection and then they don't necessarily pay attention to the four-way stop. They just start going across the street and then their buddy's late. So he runs in. And so there is a potential for a problem there. It's a problem now for us. So as it's when the kids get out of school, 2:30, 3 o'clock, that time, you know, the traffic pattern gets really screwed up there. So anyway, just something to keep in mind.
I suppose I'm hearing that there's a problem at the intersection. I suppose where I'm struggling to see the link is between what we expect to be the impact of this project to that intersection and how that would be mitigated, I suppose. So I'm all ears, and maybe I can reach out separately to further understand that intersection. But at this stage, without a traffic light there, like if the town were to plan to change the traffic flow through that, through adding traffic lights or something, that would be something that we could look at changing. But I don't see a mechanism nor a need right now to analyze that intersection. I think
what you're sharing with us is that the detour is going to take people who would normally be coming along Comox or Dyke Road out to Comox are going to be traveling the alternative route along Lerwick. And once they get to Comox in the Anderton Road area, they'll start to disperse in a variety of directions. So it may have increased pressure on that Pritchard intersection, and it may not, depending on where those people are headed. But I think what you've also told us is that there's going to be monitoring going on, looking out for trouble spots, and adjustments can be made as needed.
Absolutely. We will always try to adjust our systems to meet the changing needs of the project. But yes, I think we're trying to address the change of turning Comox Road unidirectional in a westbound direction. I would preface that most people going to Highland are already using Guthrie, that we're not actually changing that system. So those that we're trying to get to, for example, the mall in Comox, are most affected now, but they're going to be heading down Anderson. They're not going to end up at that Pritchard intersection.
Thanks for that, Charlie. I don't see any further questions or comments, so we will move along and deal with receipt of this report. All in favor of receipt? Any opposed? That is carried, and we do have a recommendation that the draft traffic management plan is outlined within Appendix A of the staff report dated May 22nd, 2024, be approved such that staff can engage the community on the plan. Could someone move the recommendation, please? Moved by Grant, seconded by Cole Hamilton. Further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? All right, any opposed? That's carried unanimously. We have no new business or any other items are on our agenda. I'd like to once again thank staff, particularly Charlie and all your team for all the work that you're doing on this very complex and important project. We will look forward to the ongoing reports as this moves forward and any results of the public engagement on the traffic plan. And with that, I'll take a motion for termination. Moved by Grant. All in favor, carried.